Viewers, 4399 days, 4,399 days, Prime Minister Modi has broken Nehru's record to become India's longest continuously serving democratically elected Prime Minister. This is his tryst with history. And before I go any further, I know what is already happening in the ecosystem, and you know exactly the ecosystem I am referring to, that has been mocking and ridiculing the celebration around this feat of Prime Minister Modi. They've been taunting, saying, brace yourself for the praises, etc., etc. It is as if acknowledging 12 years of unbroken elected governance is somehow embarrassing. You know, what do I say? As if Modi's record and tenure is all propaganda. The ecosystem has also put out a Nehru argument. They say, why are you not counting 1947 to 1952? Well, they say, why exclude those years? Why start the clock at the first general election? Viewers, as basic as it may be, let me tell them that the record is about the longest continuously elected Prime Minister. The operative word here is elected. Nehru became the Prime Minister in August 1947, not through a general election. We all know that. Through the transfer of power from the British and an interim government and a constituent assembly that was indirectly elected. India as an independent country with universal adult franchise voted for the first time in 1951-52. Nehru's clock as a democratically elected Prime Minister therefore starts there. From that first election until his death in 1964, May to be precise, 4398 days, that is the record, and that is what has been broken today. But here is the thing the cynics did not think through. If they insist on counting everything, fine, let's count everything. Modi served as Gujarat's Chief Minister for over 13 years before coming to Delhi. Now, combine that with his prime ministerial tenure, and his total days as an elected head of the government stands at 8931 days, longest in India's entire history. So the argument, you see, collapses either way. The ecosystem cannot win this one, not with numbers or dates or, not even with history. Now let us talk about what the numbers actually mean. Viewers, Nehru was building a nation from scratch with borrowed frameworks. His contribution is real. No one is erasing it. But Nehru's India was an India that looked west for validation, for its economic models, institutional design, the very sense of what modernity should look like. That has changed under Prime Minister Modi. We have a brilliant panel. So without wasting any time, I just want to open this up. Aarti Jairath, Senior Journalist, Rashid Kidwai, Nirja Chaudhary ji, Kanchan Gupta, Senior Advisor, Ministry of Information Broadcasting, Government of India, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Amitabh Tiwari ji, Shekhar Iyer. Who do I start with? Nirja Chaudhary ji, you've written a book, ma'am, How Prime Ministers Decide. Modi is not in that book, but if you were asked to sum up the last 12 years, what would you make of it?
I think number one, to step into 13th year is no mean achievement. Number two, he has created an organization, the new BJP under him. He's widened its base. It's no longer the Brahmin Banya party that it used to be. The OBCs, the power has devolved to OBCs, Dalits, and he's an OBC Prime Minister. So that also says something. Why has he been, popular? He still retains the trust of a large section of people. That is why he's winning election after election. Very quickly overcame the setback in 2024 with subsequent state elections, as we've seen, Haryana, Maharashtra, Delhi, and keeping Assam and West Bengal now, which is a big achievement. And the entire East virtually is under the saffron. apart from, barring the top, the crown of 2-3 states, entire heartland, barring Jharkhand and the south. It's all saffron today, the Indian map. So in power in 22 states, 16 on their own. This is a formidable achievement under his leadership, and a humongous electoral machinery which can win these elections. So I would say certainly all that. And what is the formula? Why is it that he is winning the way he is winning? Hindu Hriday Samrat, number one. Social welfareism. He's reached out to the marginalized, at least, as preceding prime ministers like Indira Gandhi, VP Singh, they used to say this, unless you can reach out to the poor, you will never win elections in India. So whether it's Jan Dhan, all the schemes that he's talked about, Ujjwala, Jan Dhan, toilets, they've had their impact at the ground level. They may have been false, but they have had their impact. And,
ma'am, if I could, interrupt you here, I just one quick thing, and I want you to weigh in on this. When you talk about Modi reaching out to the poor, and you say others before him have done so, but Modi has gone beyond just the slogan, just the rhetoric, isn't it?
Well, he certainly put in place schemes, which is, Jan Dhan, for instance, is 800 million people getting 5 kilos of grain. Those kind of things have had their impact. But I would also say, apart from social welfareism, Hindu Hriday Samrat, powerful leader, strong leader, no family in tow, he's also been a non-elite, non-English speaking leader who's had an appeal to an aspirational India that's sitting there in the small towns and villages, who feel that we can also make it good. And that's where his challenges also will come, because it's an aspirational India. It wants things fast. And we have seen in recent days, the younger people asserting themselves and determining the outcome of elections. We've seen that in Acta Vijay in Tamil Nadu. We've seen it in this online phenomenon called the Cockroach Janta Party. It's a young India that's saying, listen to us. We want a reform in the exam system. We want jobs. We want health. We want education. We want to go further. So this is also because he is the leader of a young India, 1.46 billion people, 2/3 of whom are actually under the age of 35. So that is a tremendous opportunity as well as a challenge.
But there is someone who's called a youth leader, Jan Nayak, ma'am, and that person is not Modi. So I leave it to the judgment of the viewers. Mr. Kidwai, what do you make of the last 12 years?
I think it's a work in progress. Mr. Modi has achieved many milestones, personal, political, at the international theatre, in matters of economy. But as Mr. Modi himself, Pradesh once said, that it depends whether the glass is half full or half empty. And I think glass is more than half full, and that would be my assessment. But there are areas, like Nirjaji was saying, there are increasingly disquiet among youth. You look at what a mess we made about NEET examination. That needs a lot of, look at Manipur, there are a lot of points are there. So full marks to, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, but Sabka Vishwas, I would reserve my judgment. It's work in progress. And another thing, Pradesh, we must very carefully examine. You, in your opening remarks, you made a lot of comments about ecosystem, etc. But the fact of the matter remains that, comparison is a thief of joy. We cannot compare the Nehruvian era with Narendra Modi era, just as that Modi era cannot be compared with Nehruvian era. And the fact that you can say that, 13th year, and it's very commendable, I would give full marks to that, but still he's the third longest serving Prime Minister of India. You can go on marshalling any kind of argument by, clubbing state chief ministership with Prime Minister.
No, sir, I am not clubbing anything. Look, no, Mr. Rashid Kidwai, sir, I agree with most of what you've said. 1 minute. The point here is very, very simple. It's not technical at all. We are talking about a prime minister, who served after being elected. So where is the debate here? Nehru's first term he was picked as the prime minister. He wasn't elected. And like you said about comparisons, the comparison is only for those who compare Nehru, Indira with Modi. So why should we spare them? That's that.
No, it's always comparison is there, and I don't find, because that's how you say who is the greatest Prime Minister of India. So obviously some would say Modi, somebody would say Nehru, somebody would say Indira Gandhi, somebody may say VP Singh, someone may say PV Narasimha Rao, someone may say Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So this is always a comparison. Who is the greatest cricketer in the world? I mean, you can go on mentioning numbers.
But that's a separate debate. I am not. I did not even bring in greatness. I am only talking about one parameter. I get your point. I get the larger point. But you see this argument, and why should you jump in defense of the ecosystem, sir? Look at the chatter on social media, what people are saying, etc., etc. But that's for some other day. Ms. Jairath, what is your assessment of this, of this record, if I may use that word, and of Modi's tenure as Prime Minister, the last 12 years?
Well, I would say that his biggest achievement has been to make the BJP the predominant national party today. I mean, the spread of the BJP from Maharashtra across the north to the east to the northeast is a phenomenal achievement for a party that in 1984 won just 2 seats in the Lok Sabha. And I think that is an achievement that cannot be taken away, because that is an achievement that he has achieved, ever since he came into power as the first majority BJP Prime Minister. So I think that is a huge achievement. And today, I mean, the BJP is very much here to stay as a party. It's no longer a tailless party that had to attach itself to the socialists or to, other parties to, kind of climb up the ladder. It is there on its own strength. And I think that is a huge, huge achievement. But, Pranesh, the thing is that after having been in power for 2 terms and now entering his 3rd term, actually the challenges become much more in the 3rd term than they were in the first 2 terms. Because in the first 2 terms, he was setting things right. Many things that had gone wrong, he was setting them right. Now the thing is, he has to prove, his own record of governance. And there is no point talking about the Hindu rate of growth, because the Hindu rate of growth actually harks back to Indira Gandhi's time. Ever since the economic reforms were unveiled by Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao in 1991, we have way surpassed the Hindu rate of growth. So the point is that today, today the Prime Minister has to be judged on what he is achieving for the country. He listed out a whole lot of things. And yes, there's no question. I think in terms of connectivity, there has been an exponential growth, whether you talk of roads, trains, airlines, digital. It's incredible how the country has got connected. But, as a woman, as somebody who nurtures younger generation and who worries about the future of my children and my grandchildren, I think there are certain fields that have been neglected in this race for technology, digitization, and all the modern trappings of growth. And those are very key, because ultimately you have to improve your Medicare, you have to improve your health system, you have to improve your education system, you have to provide people equal opportunities. And I think this whole exam fiasco that has happened today exposes some of the weaknesses that still exist in the Indian system, which need to be addressed with the same kind of energy and the same kind of speed as the government has addressed all the other developments, on the front of technology. So I think these things, need to be foregrounded. And one more really big thing, which is pollution, because I think it is the right of every citizen to get clean air and clean water.
Right.
We have seen, deaths in Madhya Pradesh because of contaminated water. Unfortunately, this contaminated water has even hit in Delhi, with some elite colonies, suffering from contaminated water and
No, ma'am, no one is of the opinion here on the panel or otherwise that, there are no problems, concerns, challenges, etc.
Now, while we pursue the technology path and, move ahead speedily on semiconductors and
Right.
AI and so on, I think some of these issues need to be addressed with the same kind of energy and the same kind of speed
Priority and focus.
as the
Okay.
other
Let me
issues.
bring in Kanchan Gupta. Mr. Gupta, good evening. What sets Prime Minister Modi apart? Because, his critics are still not convinced. And let's talk about the political opposition. Look at what they've been saying, that here is an anti-people Prime Minister.
Good evening, Pranesh. Thank you for inviting me to your show. I would look at the milestone slightly differently. The fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is today the longest serving democratically elected Prime Minister of independent India is by itself a huge achievement. And it's a huge achievement not only for those who have voted for him, but I also think it's a huge achievement for democracy and for everybody who believes in democracy. That unlike many of the countries in our neighborhood, the extended neighborhood, we have followed the traditions that we set for ourselves in 1947 and the constitution we adopted in 1952. Now, having said that, I have 3 points to make quickly. One, I think it is perfectly fine to compare Prime Minister Modi's tenure with that of India's first elected Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Why? Because history is always a matter of comparisons. You do not see things in a vacuum or in midair. If you look at the manner in which Prime Minister Modi has used his tenure and compare it to the manner in which Nehru used his tenure, you get a very clear picture of how they conceived of India and the future of India. Prime Minister Modi's emphasis has been not only in catching up, but also in sort of contextualizing modern India in terms of energy requirement and therefore energy security. He listed out, just now we heard, he listed out the emphasis on alternative energy, green energy, and how India has been a huge success story, for instance, in solar energy, and moving on, we are now looking at nuclear energy. Number 2, it's you have mentioned, and other speakers I think have also mentioned the question. Aarti just now mentioned connectivity. Now, this is not only just connectivity. It's not only about building roads and expressways and highways or airports, but it's also building them with a purpose. One, it helps India to move. B, it creates a double-use infrastructure. Today, you have highways and expressways near all our important military installations, which can be used for double purposes, for planes to land, take off, etc. You look at the massive expansion of infrastructure in the border areas, whether it's yesterday India was gifted with the highest a transport tunnel, which is the highest in the world. This is in Jammu and Kashmir, and then you have infrastructure happening in Ladakh. You have huge infrastructure happening along the LAC and other border zones. we never thought that we would live to see this day. Manmohan Singh put border infrastructure on the back burner. Nehru, in fact, issued written instructions that there should be no military installations within a certain range of borders. So that is the kind of past we have had, and therefore this comparison is important. Nehru's whole thing about not having forward bases. How do you compare the importance of Prime Minister Modi's forward base theory or putting in place forward bases unless you compare it with what was done in the past? I will give you some more examples. For instance, right now it was mentioned about bad water. Of course, there shouldn't be any bad water anywhere in the country for any citizen. But that's a municipality task. It is not a prime ministerial task. Just as much pollution is a state government's task and not a prime ministerial task. If we have bad air in the NCR, it's because of the bad governments which NCR has had, the bad governments which Punjab has had. So why not acknowledge that and try and bring about corrections over there? But that is really not the issue to be discussed today.
Right.
Today, what we need to discuss and we need to record is that, for instance, the Jal Jeevan Mission, Prime Minister Modi, as a prime ministerial mission, has brought potable tap water to crores of rural households. Today, almost 86 to 87% of rural households have water
You're
on the tap.
absolutely right.
Potable
The
water on the
numbers
tap.
speak for themselves, and they are
Something like Swachh Bharat Mission. I'm sorry, the media has never been able to estimate or to get an idea of the real importance of something like Swachh Bharat Mission, what it means to have toilets in the villages, and the impact it has had on public health expenditure, both of the state and of the individual. Media has not had the sense to estimate, or the ability to estimate, or the interest to estimate the impact which Ujjwala has had on rural women and the girl child. So these are transformational changes.
Right.
The economy will keep on going up, coming down. Today, the national economy is not an isolated organism that is not infected by what's happening around in the world.
I understand that, Mr. Gupta. Let me bring in three other people who haven't had a chance to speak. We don't have much time. Mr. Iyer, you go first.
Well, just we heard the Prime Minister himself acknowledge that, things are not done yet. He himself said we have to speed up. And the fact that we have provided a stable government and people have renewed their faith and given mandate to us repeatedly is an indication that we are in the right direction. Our goals are achievable. Our dreams can be realized, and that we have to increase the scope, the speed, the skill. I mean, nowhere, as the Prime Minister said, we have done everything. In fact, today's address, I would say, is his own realistic assessment of what has been achieved and what more needs to be done. There are certainly, areas like education. There are certain areas of social services, certain areas of more poverty, dealing with corruption at the lowest level to the highest level. These are areas one can see where the people are expecting that only the Prime Minister can deliver on this, because he says that people's sankalp. The people's sankalp is, their hope has turned into a resolve. And that resolve is that we have to do that job.
Right.
So in a sense, today when he was addressing all the India chief ministers, he has in fact set forth that we look back to see how far we have come, but we do have a long way to go.
And get going. You're right. Dr. Ranganathan?
Good evening, Pranesh, and good evening to my fellow panelists. What a lovely discussion we're having. I want to make very briefly 2 points because my good friend Amitabh still hasn't spoken. I apologize for that. Look, there is absolutely no doubt, 20 of them. Some of them are so stunning that you are left wondering what on earth were the Indian governments previous to Modi were doing. Many of them look stunning because the build 120 million tap water connections. What was the Congress doing before that? So many of the achievements look spectacular simply because the Congress did not achievement of BJP. That's not the greatest achievement. The greatest achievement comes when you achieve something for the country. And Modi has truly achieved a lot of things for the country. I narrated most of them yesterday. But today I want to say this, and please give me a minute because it's very important. Modi has achieved so much by keeping, let me in the next 30 seconds tell you what Modi himself wanted. For example, 3 times Modi has said a government has no business to be in business. But right now, under the Modi government is running more businesses than even the Congress government was. We have 1,830 public sector units. 400 of them are non-functional. Every year, 21% of our annual allocated budget goes in propping up the 6 PSUs. That's point number 1. Point number 2 was when Modi said, I want maximum governance, minimum government. It's exactly the opposite that has happened. So Modi has not kept his own promise. The third promise, he said, I want reform. Unfortunately, nobody can tell Modi how wrong he is. The greatest reform that he brought in independent India, farm laws, he had to take back. Can you imagine what India would have been catapulted to a middle-income economy?
Dr. Ranganathan, it also tells you that as Prime Minister is receptive, receptive to the sentiment, the feedback on the ground. And, maybe with some tweets or when the time is right, that will see the light of the day. Mr. Tiwari, you have the last word, sir.
Essentially, of course, a lot has been achieved under Prime Minister Modi's tenure. Development and growth are always work in progress concepts. I mean, nothing is concrete. And when we compare the tenures of Jawaharlal Nehru or any other Prime Minister with Modi, all Prime Ministers of India have contributed in their own manner. And I call Nehru and Modi both the creators of New India in a sense, because Nehru built India from scratch after independence, and Modi has taken it further and has built or has laid the foundation of a building of a new India, which is New India 2.0, I would say, and also parallelly laying the bricks for the creation of the developed economy or a developed country by 2047. See, Mr. Naidu summed it up very beautifully when he said that in an era of instability around the world where leaders and parties and governments are losing elections, Modi has brought political and economic stability to the country. That's a very, very important thing. What we have to see is that the welfare schemes, the infrastructure spent, his vision on various schemes like Ujjwala or a PM Kisan, etc., have brought not only or have lifted not only a lot of people out of poverty, but has also provided this impetus to the growth which India has achieved in the past 10 to 12 years. And by the way, we are all talking about that he is the longest continuous serving elected Prime Minister of the country. Now, even if you see in the world, he is ranked 6th. He's ranked 6th, correct? And that's also a significant achievement.
Okay.
So, Modi under BJP has cracked.
Despite all of this, Mr. Tiwari, there are individuals who believe that in the next 1 year, Narendra Modi will not be the Prime Minister. So, there's still such people and, parties who are pushing this narrative. So, let's see how this, journey of development continues in the days to come. 12 years and still going strong. I thank all of you for joining us this evening. The news are with Navita Kumar on the other side.